talk about for the next session, on to the next part of it. So the next part is what's new with warehouse management, and then I'll be talking about 3 features. Pick and choose 3 features: cancel work, split work, and cross-docking. These are coming from the 2019 Wave 2. So we'll see how we'll see the demos as well, and then we'll have a Q&A and also have a quiz. So pay attention to the whole session. So you'll be asking questions based on that. So everybody will be welcome to join on the quiz after the Q&A session. Yeah, or we can do it before that. Yeah. So let's move into the session. So warehouse management in D365 SCM or supply chain management. So what do we have in there? So warehouse management actually let us manage the processes such as manufacturing, distribution, and retail, and it has also integrated with other business operations such as transportation, manufacturing, quality control, purchase, transfer, sales, and returns. So those are the things that it will involve, and also you can get real-time analytics with incorporating with Power BI and as well. So these are capabilities of the warehouse management using the D365's SCM, and there are a lot of steps involved, setups as well involved in the configuring part of it. So for an example, that there will be like web templates, work pools, and location directives. So there will be these things involved, and it is very it's highly configurable, and it has got additional warehouse operations such as if you do the counting in a warehouse, so you can do the cycle counting, and if you want to move inventory inside the warehouse, you can use the inventory movement. And it will also cover the production operations as well, like if you want to start production or if you want to end production, so you could use some of the features from this warehouse management part. And also it's easy for warehouse workers to learn and use and engage with it. And also it has a Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, a warehousing app. And also it can also lead to increase your productivity and improve the user experience as well. So moving on to the next, the basic inbound and outbound process. Let's look at inbound process. So typically the warehouse will have a inbound process. So once you created the purchase order, so then you probably will be receiving that goods from your supplier. So once you receive the goods into the supplier, it will be in your dock. So once that's been received, the arrival at the dock, and then one worker will be registering or receiving that inventory, and then you possibly transport into inventory location, and then you put it away to your bin location as such. Or so you probably, this is the basic scenario of an inbound process, how it happens. And if we go to the outbound process, so usually in the system, in the outbound process, you will reserve automatically or maybe manual reservation of the stock for your particular sales order, and then you will perform action code release order to warehouse. So once you do the releasing to the warehouse, then it will generate a work, and then you will move ahead with the next steps as well. So for an example, you can do the staging. So the staging is the next step. It will be putting into a staging location to be packed, and then once you've done that, you will ship it. So for the shipping part, you will combine loads, and then you'll have a truckload, and then you'll be doing the shipment part of it. So that's the basic inbound and outbound process for you to get an idea of what we are talking about here. And then I'll give an example on the sample warehouse layout. So how does a warehouse look like, right? So let me get a pointer. That's a point. So yeah, so I'll get a laser point so that it's good to show you what it is. So you'll get a dock doors. So dock doors are the ones which you will receive the items from the trucks itself. And so that's the location here, and this is the inbound. So the inbound is where you do the registering the incoming items, right? And then you'll have bulk locations. So the bulk locations are here under the B1 to B7, B8 to B24. These are all bulk locations. So the bulk locations is where you store items which are not required right now, but So that's why. So it's not, if it's not required immediately, so you'll probably store it in bulk, and then you'll have a pick location. So you'll transfer from bulk to pick locations, and you'll do the replenishment kind of activities as well at the same time if you have that. And you'll also have a quarantine area. So Q1, Q2, Q3 are all quarantine areas. And if you look at the G1, G2, G3, all these are staging locations, right? And then you'll probably have kind of a freezer locations, like if you are dealing with, maybe if you have storing like example like ice cream or something like that, you need to store in a freezer. So you probably need to have the freezer facilities. So it's not mandatory to have freezer everywhere, but it depends on your business. So depending on your business, you might have freezer locations, and depending on this scenario, you'll probably have freezer locations as well. So you'll probably have the fresh locations as well, as shown here. So the fresh locations will probably store some kind of fresh fruits and stuff like that. So you'll have a different kind of storing capabilities inside the warehouse. So you need to properly plan out how you work in a warehouse based on your operation that you need to perform based on your business. And let's move to the next part of it. So that hope that gives you a bit of visibility on what the warehouse activities, what's the basic flow, and what we are going to talk in the next topics. So we'll talk about the new features which actually came in the 2019 release wave 2 plan. So there are a few features like displaying here warehouse release rule, pick line grouping, change work pool on work, system directed cluster picking, cancel work, split work, cross-docking, put away clusters, and there's many more. So I just included a few of them to show you. And let me see which three features that we're going to talk about today: cancel work, split work, and cross-docking. So these are the three features that we're going to talk about today. Change my print. Okay, and so let's talk about cancel work. What does cancel work? So this is an alternative feature that we have in the system for the SQL corrective scripts. So usually you'll create a work. So let's explain about what's a work. Work is actually what we use to track activities, right, in the system relating to incoming and outgoing goods. So you might be having incoming, like inbound or outbound operations. So all these operations are handled through the work items or work. So there will be work generated in the system, and here we are discussing about the canceling the existing activities which are generated. So when you have a work like for the inbound, so you need to have a pick and put. So you'll pick the stock and then you'll put it away. So these two operations or two activities are there. So once you create a work, there will be an activities generated. So these are the activities that you perform. So sometimes you might need to pick, for an example, you might have like a sales order with 100 over lines. So if you want to pick 100 over lines, then, but probably you might get an issue in the halfway, or maybe there's an issue that you want to cancel that existing work. So the standard feature, what was there before, you can't cancel a work when it's in progress. So if it's in open, you can cancel it. So this actually gives, if you're in the halfway of that work activity, so you can actually cancel it. But previously, if you want to do that step, you need to actually ask Microsoft to run if it's in FNO, so in the cloud, you need to raise an ICM ticket for Microsoft to cancel it out. So this is actually an alternative way that you can actually use the the use interface to do that, instead of asking Microsoft to run the SQL corrective script. So that's what the new feature actually helps you to do. And also we need to note that this cannot be cancelled directly from the work page itself. And also we'll have several types as well. That it will only work with sales, trans issue, raw material picking, or replenishment can be actually cancelled by this job, but the other types you wouldn't be able to cancel it. And here where you can find that feature if you go to the warehouse management, periodic tasks, cleanup, cancel work, see it will be here, the periodic tasks. Let's go and look at a demo on the scenario. So let me let me present again. Just okay. Yeah, sorry for that. Okay, let's go in. So if you notice that this is the work I was talking about, so the work will have pick and put away operations. So there's two items. If you notice, there's two items to be picked for this work. So that's the work ID. So that's the two items, 199 and 200. So actually, this is actually, I mean, it's actually in process, work status if you look at it. So I want to cancel it. So if I want to cancel it, I can actually use the new feature. So that's what it's all about. So if it's in progress, you can actually use that. So let's look at how we can do that. So if you see this, yeah. So this is where you can find the new feature: periodic tasks, clean up, cancel work. Then you go and pick that work ID. So only the in process will be selected here because it will be only listing the in process. So once you select it, it will load all that work and you'll press OK. So the thing to be highlighted, it will be actually sitting in your user location. So you have the user locations, that's the KP. So that once you cancel this, the stock will be actually in the KP location. And if you see, the status also changed to cancelled, and so the stocks will be lying in the KP location, and you can transit back to the other location. So that's that's about the feature itself. And let's move into the next feature. It's the split work. So the split work, what is the use of this function? This feature will actually helps to increase the utilization of the warehouse workforce. So if you have an example of probably a sales order with 100 lines, then probably you could actually use, you can actually split it up and probably multiple workers can be worked on. Whereas previously you don't have that kind of a feature so that somebody can go and split it for, if it's a large order that's really helpful. If it's a small order, may not be useful, but if it's a large order, it's really useful in that context of the warehouse operation. So it can split, and you can utilize your warehouse workforce in such a way that will be helpful for the organization, so that to use that workforce utilization properly. And where can you find it? If you go to the work screen, split work, then you will find this feature, split work. So once you click on the split work, it will give you a screen, and then inside the screen, then you can select whatever the criteria that you want to specify based on the locations or based on some other category, and then you can split it up, and then you can you will have two different work orders, and then you can ask two different, or maybe the same worker or two different workers to actually execute that, and you can utilize your warehouse workforce really well on that scenario. So let's look at how we can do that. So this is in the work screen again. So that's the split work. That's the new button or the new icon, which new icon which will help you to do the split work. So if you go in here, you would see that split work is appearing on top of that, the button. So there's actually two items in this. So when you go to the split work, you'll have these two items, and you can select whatever the icon in this example, but usually you'll do a filtering, proper filtering, and then based on your criteria, based on your location type or zone ID or something like that, and then you split it up, right? And then once you split it up, what will happen? It will actually generate. It'll update here. You'll see that this has been cancelled. That first item is remaining quantity 0, right? And then if I go back, I can see that the other work as well, right? So that's actually generated the other work. So there's a couple of works now. So if you go inside the new work, you'll see that the splitted one is actually in that new work. So that's what you can do with this feature. So it's really helpful. This is just an example with 2 items, but usually you will use it for a order with large number of lines to be picked. Yeah. And let's go into the next one. That's the cross-docking, planned cross-docking. So let's see the cross-docking. What we talk about the cross-docking. So the traditional, we'll talk about the traditional warehousing. So usually you'll receive in the items, right? Then once you receive in the items, you'll do a receipt and inspection. Once you do that, you'll have a storing place. You'll store it, and then you'll pick it, and then you'll stage it, right? And then you will ship it out. So this is the traditional method. But if you have cross-docking, what will happen? You'll have the same, the in operation as the same, receipt is the same, and then it'll gonna be changed because it will be directly from the receipt. You will probably put into a cross-docking location. So you mix it and sort it and put it to a cross-docking location, and then you will stage it for the packing purposes, and then you will ship it out. So in this way, you'll actually reducing some part of the operation, and you'll actually reducing the touch points. So the touch points are really key in the warehouse, because if you have unnecessary touch points, that's actually increasing inefficiencies. So if you minimize the touch points, that's actually increasing your efficiency. So that's what is that's what the capability actually brings on this. So, and more on the cross-docking. Cross-docking is actually a method to optimize the processing goods in a warehouse by using inbound stock directly for outbound processing without the storing item in the warehouse directly, right? So that's how it started. And if we talk about Walmart is one of the companies that pioneered the concept of cross-docking successfully. And cross-docking also allows the worker to skip inbound put away and outbound picking of inventory that is already marked to an outbound order. So that's what key on this operations. And there could be several benefits to the warehouse because of these operations and because of this cross-docking feature actually released from the Microsoft. That's really adding value to the warehouses, because some warehouses might have a lot of workers, some temporary workers, because of this reason, because they have a lot of cross-docking. So if you have the cross-dock, if you have this functionality, you probably reduce a lot of the hours or the work hours that for the workforce, right? And let's go and see what the cross-docking does. Inventory quantities required to satisfy an order that will be directed to the correct outbound dock or staging area. And there's all remaining inventory from inbound source will be directed to the correct storage location through regular put away process. And cross-docking will be allowing worker to skip inbound put away and outbound picking of inventory. So that's what we discussed earlier. And there are a few setups involved. I'm not going to discuss in detail on the setups part. So the setups wise, there's few setups that you need to do. Work classes, you need to add a new work class, and then you need to add the work template, and also you need to do a location directive setup as well. And you need to have a cross-docking template, and you need to also change your mobile device menu item. So these are the changes that you need to do. And if you are working with 10.09, so the new version, so actually there has been a few fixes that's coming from the inquiry screen. So there have been few fixes actually, reported. I've reported a couple of them, and have been fixed as well. If you're using the 10.09, you'll have that inquiry screen fixes being there. So that's really wonderful. And let's go into the next. So let's jump into the demo. So probably I won't run through all of it. So first you need to create a PO. So in the case what we are demonstrating here, so we have a PO, so that we'll be creating a PO here. So we're selecting the vendor account and create a vendor. So select the vendor account, you'll select the warehouse, and then it'll pop up the site as well, and then you click OK, so it'll generate the PO header. So once it generated the PO header, then you'll go and add in the items. So let's see the adding items part quickly. So you can add in the item. So in this case is 001, that's the item, and you can put in the quantity here. And then what you need to do is basically, let's go in. So then the next step will be adding a sales order. So you'll create a 5 quantity PO first, right? And then we're gonna go here to the sales order, and we're gonna create a sales order here. So I'll just quickly skip because yeah. So you'll same way you'll specify the same warehouse. So you need to be in the same warehouse 51, and you'll give all these required information, and then create the sales order, and then give the same item here, A0001, and yeah. So once you did that, you give the quantity 3. So just to make sure, just remember, PO 5 quantity and the SO is 3 quantity, right? And we don't have inventory, so we are actually trying to fill that from that PO using the cross-docking new feature, right? So that's the thing to be highlighted here. So what from the sales order we'll do is release to warehouse. So that's the operation which we'll do. So let's see, release to warehouse. So it actually created the shipment and a load, but it didn't create a work. So that's what information is giving here. So if you go to the shipment details, there's a shipment, and you would notice that there's 2 new setups, 2 new icons, planned dock, and the cancelled cross-docking, right? And if you see planned cross-docking and cancelled cross-docking, so these are the 2 buttons which is available from this feature. And then if you click, let's go ahead, quickly. Yeah, so this is the planned cross-docking. So this is the inquiry kind of a screen. There's a separate inquiry screen, but this is actually coming from that shipment screen. So you would see that the quantity 3, which is actually coming from which order. You have the PO number as well. All right, and you have the SO number, PO number, and the shipment ID, and the load ID as well. And then we'll go to the receiving part. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to receive the item, right? Because we have a PO for 5 quantity, but we don't have anything in the inventory. So we just type it in the item code, and then in this case we generated for 5 quantity. So PO was 5 quantity. So let's say 5 quantity we are receiving. And then you press the green arrow icon, so it will be finished, and then you'll give a license plate here, provide license plate, and yeah, so provide license plate, and it will proceed with that. So the work has been completed, right? So the purchase receiving part has been completed, and then we quickly go to the work that has been generated. Let's see the generated work. So if you go inside, that's the work order type is purchase order, and you see that it's receiving to the receive location and the bulk. But if you notice that the quantity is actually 2, right? Because that's only be generating 2 quantity to the bin. Then the other 3 actually, because we have a sales order waiting there, so we need to send that 3 quantity to the cross-dock. So that if it's a previous method, then there will be 5 quantity generated to the bulk, and then from bulk we need to again pick it to the stage. So pick it to the cross-docking or the Beidou area. So that's the additional operation part of it. So that's been completely taken out by this. And let's see, yeah, so let's see the purchase receiving part. So once we see the purchase receiving part, let's see the purchase put away part. So once you do the put away, so we'll go ahead with that license plate. Let's see, test 10. Yeah, so that's giving a cross-docking pick, right? So this is actually saying that it's cross-docking pick, right? And then if you press on the green icon, let's see, let's press on the green icon, then you get a target LP license plate, then you'll provide a target license plate here. Yeah, so give a target license plate test 11 and press the green button again. And let's, yeah, that's the put away part. Let's go. Yeah, so let's come back here. So that's the target license plate ID, the test 10 here. So you see that this is the two quantities. So that's the work order generated for the purchase order type. So the other one is the one which we processed. Let's quickly go. Yeah, so let's put away on this part of it. Done. Let's place done. So the cross-dock input. So that's the that's actually going to the Bedo, right? Or there could be a cross-docking location. Depends on which location you specify for the Bedo. It could be cross-docking or Bedo location. And that work has been completed, right? And if you do the put away for the other the two parts, so that's the two quantities. So that's the put away actually you're doing for the two quantities. You can follow the same method and finish it off. Let's probably show you the test here. Yeah, probably. Yeah, because of the time, I'm not going to show it, but I can explain what happens. So basically, that three quantity will be having a separate work generated, and the type will be cross-docking. So the two which is generated is the purchase order. So that's been the initially generated two quantity which is receiving to the bulk, and the other three will be having a separate work generated as cross-dock. So that will be the type. Yeah. And let's move into the how do I enable these features. So there's actually something called feature management inside the FNO or the Dynamics 365 supply chain management. If you talk about the specific products, supply chain management, you and finance and operations as finance as well, both using the feature management of the mode feature management. And you can actually come here and enable your features. So example like plan, cross-docking, cancel work, and work split. You can actually go to the screen and you can enable it. So that's where you can enable it if you find that feature in the new version, right? If it's a new version and if you already have that available in your feature management, then you can probably enable from there. But if you are checking, for an example, if you are checking maybe cancel work in 10.06, the previous version, you don't have that feature in the feature management to be enabled. So what you need to do is you need to enable it actually using a SQL script if you are enabling it in the UAT environment. But if you have to enable it in the live environment, you probably need to be asking or requesting help from the Microsoft. And yeah, so that's basically what you need to do. So if it's a new version, definitely you can look it in the feature management. If it's 10.09 or 10.010, so you could look it in the feature management area, right? So that's more about it. So do you guys have any questions? I would like to take any questions.
Thanks, Kasun. That was a wonderful and insightful session. So first of all, I think we have one question. So the question is, can we use the supply chain for small businesses and customize the processes to be simple to use?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can use for small operations as well. But if you're talking about really small operations, you probably can look at the BC business rental as well, and you can compare what features you're looking with again in the system, compare with the BC and FNO and see which is the best way for you to go ahead. So that's what I would recommend. But if you could definitely use FNO, the FNO will have more rich features and capabilities. Yeah. Than
So that
yeah.
Yeah, that means if we are going for the small businesses, we should first look out for the business central, compare.
Look out for what you require from the system and whether BC can handle all these things. But if BC is not going to be able to handle your complex scenarios and stuff like that, then yeah, probably need to stick with the FNO. Yeah.
Great, great. On the same note, as a quick question that what are the supporting languages for supply chain management?
Supporting languages means you mean different languages, yeah. I can't recall on the exact number of languages, but it's been supported for different languages. Yeah.
Does it support like language packs and all?
Yeah, there's you can run run in different languages like for example like Arabic, stuff like that. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. So there are a lot of languages, but I'm not I don't have that count in my mind how many languages there. But there are few languages which is support, so you could run it using the different languages. Yeah. So the
Sure,
UI will
Kasun.
have that all the different languages. Yeah.
Sure, Kasun. Thanks for the wonderful session.
Hey, Kasun, one quick question, buddy. So,
Yeah.
So basically, once the FOB, right? I mean, you're essentially like calculating FOB shipping out. Is that the point where you do RevRec, revenue recognition? And then is that the point where you actually calculate your Wall Street revenue?
Yeah, what happens once you ship it out, you'll actually do the delivery note. So once you do the delivery note, it's equivalent to packing slip, and you'll post the packing slips to the journal, and then you will have you'll still have a step to do the invoicing part. So until you do the invoicing, it will not recognize as an invoice. Yeah. So the full complete process once you do from the work from the work management part of it, you'll complete until the delivery note. Yeah, so that it will be sitting for someone to do the invoicing part. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks,
So
man.
we can. Yeah. Cool. Thanks. We can go for quick quiz. I'm just gonna put it in the screen so everyone can join in. Let me quickly start. So it's from the session itself. You can actually use this link or this joinmy.quiz.com, and then you can enter the game code, and you'll be ready to go ahead with the game. Let me quickly post it here as well for the link wise. Yeah. So you can type it in joinmyquiz.com and then type it in 713210, the code, and you will be joining in. Feel free to join in. Yeah. Yeah, I can see people coming. Chris Memo test. Yeah, you can give any name. That's fine. Yeah, that's good. Let's see how many people listen to full session and see how much you captured. All right. Let's give it a couple of probably 1 minute, one more minute.
And Kasun, could we have a little bit of humor? I think before you hit start, maybe we'll get our coins out. Heads or tails.
I think most of us are going to answer in that manner.
Yeah, but probably some part of it you'll definitely capture. Yeah, I would still back you guys. Yeah.
But really, Kasun, it's a really great session, and I think on behalf of the whole community, I would like to thank you in advance because it's really, really hard for us to get an expert in FNO. And thanks for your time in this session.
Thanks, Manish. Thanks for the wonderful comment. Yeah. Yeah, people are joining in. So shall we start?
Yeah, I think we can start to keep it on time.
Do we have? Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, I'll just click start. This will have the music as well, so I'm just gonna let the music play as well. So once you reply, it'll update on the screen. We can see AI is up there. Good, people are listening. Right? So everyone was awake in session. Yeah, Ying is on the lead. Alan is there. Ken is also there. Nice. Ken is leading. Alan is there now, leading. So I'll give it a probably 30 seconds. See. Alan. Yeah, thanks guys. So I'll just leave it and probably start. Yeah, thank you for everyone. So hopefully the feedback session.
Thanks a lot, Kasun. Your voice is breaking a little bit, but thanks a lot for the session. Guys, as usual, please scan the QR code and please feel free to give your honest feedback. It will help us a lot. So just give it a second, a minute, and then we will move on to our next session from Dharani. Dharani? He's gonna present on the CI/CD for Dynamics 365 customer engagement using Azure DevOps, as we know as recently renamed to VSTS. So this is gonna be a great session, guys. So if you are ready, Dharani, I will hand it over to you. Dharani, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Manish. Yeah. Thanks for the introduction, Manish. I'm good to proceed. I will take it up.
Sure.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So welcome to Microsoft APAC Business Applications and Power Platform Meetup. I'm super excited to be part of this event today. I hope everyone enjoyed all the back sessions since morning. So today I'll be presenting on. Today I'm going to talk about the DevOps for Dynamics 365 CE. But before I talk about Dynamic DevOps, let me give a small quick introduction about myself. So myself, Dharanidharan, I'm working as a senior technical lead in Exchanging Malaysia. I'm leading the Microsoft Business Applications and Power Platform, the KL user community and the APAC community and the Dynamics 365 Champs community. And also I'm ambassador of D365 Saturday. On the screen, I'm flashing the Twitter the Twitter handle, LinkedIn, blog details. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to assist you on your queries. So here is our agenda. So we'll see today what is DevOps and why DevOps is important and how we have implemented DevOps for Dynamics 365 CE, and we'll get into the system devo and we'll see the summary of today's session, and finally we'll get into Q&A. So what is DevOps? So DevOps is nothing but a set of practices that combines the software development and the information technology operations, which aims to shorten the development lifecycle and provide the continuous delivery with the high quality, high software quality to the customers or to the end users. So DevOps as the union of people, process and products to enable the continuous delivery of value to our customers or to the end users. If you ask me in simple terms, the people are really one of the most important pieces of our DevOps. Do we have the right people in place to accomplish what is we need to do in our software development process? If you don't have the right people in the place, then how do we go about getting those people on board? Do we bring them in? Do we cross train, up train? Again, it's based on a company. Each and every company will have their own DevOps process. Then in this era, every company is having its own development process, good or bad or indifferent. They have their process, and we use this process on a regular basis to deliver software to our customers. It's just that how well is that process working for you? If it is not working as well you would like, then the idea is like just revamp the process, we'll make a little tweak to it and we'll make that process to work on. Typically in the earlier days, mostly all the projects, software implementation projects, we won't have the separate budget for implementing the DevOps. Whereas in this recent days, each and every implementation project is having the separate fund allocation for DevOps. And also we do have a separate role for DevOps engineer to take care of this operational excellence things. DevOps describes a culture and set of process that brings development and operations teams work together to complete the software development. It allows the organizations to create and improve product at a faster pace than compared to this traditional approach. For example, in the traditional software development approach, if you are taking lots of time, then using this DevOps approach, we'll be able to deliver the product with a good quality in a short period of time. According to the DevOps.com, the adaptation as a rate has significantly increased from 2015. In the 2015, if you see, only 66% of organizations were adopting the DevOps, 19% were not adopting the DevOps, and 15% were undecided. Whereas in 2016, 74% of organizations were adopting the DevOps, and 60% of companies were not adopting the DevOps, and rest 10% were undecided. But in 2020, 90% of organizations were adopting the DevOps, and only the 7% were not adopting, and 3% of the companies were undecided. And here are the top 5 reasons why the industry has been so quick to adopt our DevOps principles. The first thing is like the shorter development cycles and the faster innovation. What I mean is like with the combined development and the operations teams, the applications are ready for use much more quickly. This is important since companies succeed based on their ability to innovate faster than their competitors. And second thing is like it reduces the deployment failures, rollbacks, and the time to recover. And the improved communications and the collaboration. The DevOps improves the software development culture. The combined teams are happier and more productive. This culture becomes focused most on the performance rather than the individual goals. When the teams trust each other, they can experiment and they can innovate more efficiently. The teams can focus on getting the product go live very soon. And increased efficiency helps to speed the development process and make it less prone to error. And last but not least, this reduced cost and the IT headcount. All of the above DevOps benefits translate to overall reduced cost and the IT headcount requirements. Here is the DevOps process. This is the process flow diagram. So how we are using this DevOps process. See, the Azure pipelines is a cloud service that we used to automatically build and test your project and make it available to the other users. It works with just about the language or any project type. It combines the Azure DevOps, mainly combines the continuous integration and the continuous delivery part. So together we call this as an Azure DevOps. In this, the pictorial representation, if you see this edit code, we'll do it in the Visual Studio and we'll push it to the code repository. And in the continuous integration task, we'll build the task and we'll form the solution and we'll do all the test task. And once this gets succeeded, all the components will be moved to the repository, the artifacts. Once the build gets succeeded, then the release will trigger, and here the continuous the deployment starts, the release will trigger, and it will pick the solution from the artifacts instance and it will deploy it into our target instances. This is the typical the step-by-step the flow diagram of the DevOps process. Yeah. So when I was assigned as a platform engineer for one of the Dynamics 365 implementation project, at that time, I have faced the few key challenges with the CRM deployments. So I have listed those things over here. So each time when I need to export the solution manually from the source environment, and I need to import it into the destination environment. And also no unit testing or the code is not validated. Whatever the piece of code I'm moving it from the source to the destination environment, all those things we are not sure that whether it is perfectly unit tested or whether all the validation has been done or not. The multiple deployment process is followed between all the release environments and the master data. Typically in day-to-day in the CRM projects, what we do is like all the master data will export manually from the source environment and we will import it into the destination environment. And the multiple developers working in the same organization will be overriding the changes. All these things I felt like it's a key challenges. Even for the small projects, it's fine. But if you're taking the larger organization over there, multiple developers will be working over there, and it will be difficult for us to keep the track of what changes, who is doing all those things, and will not be able to make sure whether all the solution which you are moving from the dev to SIT is properly validated or not. In order to maintain all these things, we have come up with this new process. So yeah. So in order to resolve all these challenges, I have started working on the deployment automation process. We have defined this particular process, but it's not a thumb rule like we need to follow only this process. Each and every company will have their own requirement and they will have their own business needs. Based on that, they can follow any process which they want. According to our business problems, according to our the challenges, we have come up with this process. So typically in a larger organization, what will happen is like the multiple developers will be sharing a single source instance. So as part of this process, I will explain you first process how it works actually. If the developer is assigned with the user story as a first step, the developer, the developer is assigned with the user story as a first step. They will come up with the design and they will present it to the solution review board. Based on the SRB approval, the developers will start working on the user stories. The developers will do their configuration and the customization changes in the source environment. That is nothing but the CRM dev environment. This will be the golden source environment for all the customization and the configuration changes. Once the user story is completed, the developer will export the solution from the source environment using the PowerShell script, and he will unpack the solution and he needs to check in only the necessary components associated with his user story into the source control. So while doing the check-in, we have enabled the gated check-in process. So it will automatically do the gated check-in. In the gated check-in, we have configured the Sonar Cube and the JS hint. The Sonar Cube is for all the plugins, workflows, and the custom code which you are writing it on the dynamic CRM projects. And the JS lint is for the HTML and the JavaScripts which you are writing. So we have enabled the gated check-in process. And why we need the gated check-in process is to maintain the code quality across all the developers, and also each and every company will have their coding standards. In order to maintain the company coding standards, this gated check-in is necessary. And also using this gated check-in, we can make sure like it won't break the deployment process in the build automation. Once the gated check-in gets succeeded, the code will get moved into the source control. Once the code moved into the source control, automatically the VSTS build definition, it will trigger, and with the solutions in the source control, it will form the CRM solution and it will move it to the artifacts repository. And even we do have the test automation framework which we have written that will trigger on based of this the VSTS, the build definition, and it will do the test automation and it will publish the results. And based on the results, we are triggering the deployment. The release definition will trigger, and that will pick the solution from the artifacts repository, and it will move the solution into a CRM SIT environment. And the internal testers, they will validate all the user stories, and if they give the sign off, and will be moving to the UAT environment. Similarly, we move it to the production environment. So yeah, this is the process diagram.
Sorry, Jeremy. Mr. Yashwant, can you please go on mute? Thank you.
Yeah, as I explained in the previous slide, this is in-depth detail about it. So here, if you see, the green color highlights the manual process and the purple color explains the automated process. In our complete automation process, only the developer, they need to export the solution and they need to extract it and they need to check in their necessary components. Only this is the only manual process involved in our DevOps. Rest other things, system will take care of it automatically. As I mentioned in the previous slide, they will customize the CRM solution and they will add it into the main solution. From here, the PowerShell script will run and it will export, and the dev will exclude the other developer changes and he will check in only his required components. It will flow into the TFS. Once it gets committed into the TFS, the build definition will trigger and it will pick all the XML files and it will package that into an unmanaged solution and it will push it to the artifacts repository. Once this is done, the release pipeline will trigger and it will pick the file from the artifacts repository and it will move it to SIT. And we have enabled the solution checker and it will run against the solution which we have formed in the VSTS build definition. Once this is done, then we have configured the pre-deployment approver for the UAT process. Even similarly for SIT also we have configured it. For SIT it will be a test manager. For UAT and the production, it will be a product owner. Based on their approval, that particular solution will be moved to the SIT. In SIT, the solution will be moved. And based on the product owner's approval from the SIT environment, we are picking the managed solution, and that managed solution, we are moving it to the UAT. And once the business user validates all the user story, then we are following the same approach for the production instance. Here is the Dynamics 360. Here is the representation of how we are managing the CRM instances in order to achieve this process. The dev environment, SIT, UAT, and the prod environment. Typically, all the companies will have the dev and the production environment, but this SIT and the UAT is mandatory to maintain to validate whether all the requirements are properly developed and validated. So in order to maintain the standards, so all the companies will be using the SIT and the UAT environment. And if you see, a dev environment is the golden source of environment for all our customization configuration changes. And SIT, where the people will test all the functionalities against the different types of data by the internal test users. And UAT is like where we all test the functionalities against the different types of data by the business users. Production is nothing but the go live instance. So in order to achieve our process, these are the prerequisites which is required. Visual Studio 2015 and 2017. And we do need the Visual Studio, the CRM developer, the CRM SDK toolkit. There is a CRM developer toolkit, so we can install that. And then the Visual Studio, the team services, which is nothing but earlier it was called as a VSTS. Recently they have renamed it as a Azure DevOps. And Dynamics 365 CE online. And we need to know the basic knowledge of PowerShell script. And next is the solution packager. In our process, mainly we are using the extract and the pack commands in the solution packager. And next is the Power DevOps tools, which has been developed by Valhamis. So earlier it was called as a Dynamics 365 build tools. Now recently it has been renamed as a Power DevOps tools. And one more thing, this is not only the tool we need to follow for the DevOps process. We do have a lot of tools available in the market, and also instead of the Azure DevOps, the people they will use the Git as a repository, and instead of the VSTS pipeline, the people they will use the Jenkins as a the build definition pipelines. So for our process, as I said, based on our need, we have used these things. But however, based on your requirement and based on your convenience, you can use it. Basically, here we went with the two approach. One is using the Valhamis, and other one is like instead of this Valhamis tools, we have written one PowerShell script to achieve all the required the functionalities. But for today's demo, I will be explaining with the Power DevOps tools. And right hand side, you can see the image. This Power DevOps tools. This comes as an extension with the Azure DevOps. You need to install it the first time. So once you install, then you will be able to see inside your VSTS build and release definition. And here I have given the link to download this the Power DevOps tools. Yeah, before starting with the system demo, I wish to quickly explain you the mandatory rules which we need to follow as part of this DevOps process. So let us take a moment to define some of the mandatory tools which we need to follow. All the source code must be in the source control. For example, the CRM, the implementation involves the plugin code, custom workflows, actions, web resources, and the solution file, master data will be there, and the security roles will be there. All those things should be there in the source control. The reason is like if you are having these things in the source control, then it will be easy to track the changes, and also whenever the rollback is needed, we'll be easily able to roll back it. And the check-in is regularly needed because each check-in will trigger the commit process. Each check-in will trigger the commit process. Based on the commit process, we are triggering the VSTS build and release definition. And this each and every commit process should be validated, which means nothing but the gated check-in, as I have mentioned. So based on each and every developer's commit, we need to enable the gated check-in in order to maintain the code quality across all the developers, and also we do have each company will have the coding standards. So let's get into the system demo. So I will share my screen. 1 second. So this build automation is the project which is the sample project which I have created for the demo purpose. So if you see here right hand side, you can see the project stats, what all the change sets has been checked in, and we'll be able to see the build, how many builds has been succeeded and how many the deployments has been succeeded. I'm not going to explain in detail about this the Azure DevOps. I will quickly move into the repos and the pipelines. The repos will have our source code. Here we'll have all the source code, the solution, the packager, and all the common related files, plugins, workflows. And the packages will have all the necessary, the DLL related to all the projects. And the change sets, here we will be able to see all the change sets, whatever the developer is the committing from the Visual Studio. So that will come and sit there as a change sets. And cell set, if you want to don't want to commit the code, and if you want to have your code in the repository, then you will be able to do the self share. And in the pipelines, we mainly use for our process, we mainly use the build definition and the release definition, and we do have the library. This library, what we are doing is like as part of this deployment process. So we need to establish the connection to the Dynamics 365 CE instance from the Azure DevOps. So basically we'll be establishing a connection to the source environment and the destination environment. It's not recommended to keep the username and the password of the source environment and the destination environment in the variables in Azure DevOps. Yep. Guys, can you please go on mute? Yeah. So that's the reason we have created a Azure Key Vault. So in the Azure Key Vault, I have added all the username and password, the dev username, password, SIT username, password as a secrets, and Azure DevOps has a provision to create the variable groups from the Azure Key Vault. So once we select this, it will ask you to select the Azure subscription, and once you select the Azure subscription, it will ask you to select the Key Vault name. If you select it, then we will be able to see all the variables under this Azure Key Vault. This will be using it in our VSTS build and release definition. Let me quickly get into the Visual Studio. So yeah, so here is the project structure. So as I mentioned, I have used the CRM developer toolkit to create this, the main solution, the build automation. Under the build automation, I have created all these projects, the buildautomation.com, and it will hold all the common files, the business, the common the files, helper classes across this, the plugins and the workflows. And we do have a separate project for plugins, workflows, and this solution manager will contain all the necessary PowerShell scripts and the command files, and also this will have the solution packager.exe. Based on the solution packager.exe only, all the command files will run. And we do have a project called build automation.solutions, and here is the folder. Using the unpack command, will be extracting the zip file into this the required format. For our demo purpose, I have taken two instances. So this crmmalaysian.crm5.dynamics.com will be my source instance, and my destination instance will be build automation sit.crm5.dynamics.com. Okay. So what I will do is, like, for our demo purpose, just in the, I have a solution called build automation. Over here, I will add some components, and we'll see how we are moving the components from the dev environment to SIT using our DevOps process. I will just create a field called reject reason, and I will give this as a multi-line of text, and I will save this one. So once this is done, I will quickly add this field into the form. So let it publish. In the meanwhile, I will quickly go and add one more web resources for our demo. So just I will write some function test method inside. So I have added this method. So I will give the publish all customization. Even the publish is also not required. So even in our PowerShell script, we have written this. So I will just quickly get into the PowerShell script and I will explain you. So yeah, so this is the PowerShell script which I have written. So here in the starting, I'm initializing all the variables, the solution name and solution file path, CRM username, password, and the CRM URL. And here I have written a method called the function establish CRM. So in this PowerShell script, mainly we are concentrating on three things. One is, like, first, initially we are establishing the connection to the CRM, then publishing the customization and exporting the customization to the desired path. So if you see here, so here I'm establishing a connection. This method is establish the connection. So this how this PowerShell script works is, like, in the PowerShell we do have a module called microsoft.xrm.data.PowerShell tools. So using that module, I'm establishing a connection. So here, if you see, I'm passing the username, password. So then once that is done, so then there is a command to establish a connection, connect-CRM online. Using that, connection will be established, and I'm holding that connection in this CRM online variable. Then with that, I am publishing the customization and exporting the solutions. I will quickly run this. So it will take a couple of minutes to run. So in the meanwhile, I will explain you how we have configured the VSTS, the build and release definition. Yeah, before that, I wish to explain the unpack command. So once the solution gets exported, it will come and sit in the common location, this particular location. Okay. So post that work is done, then it's a developer's responsibility to run this unpack, the solution unpack.cmd. So that I have configured as an external tools. So if you go here, so here we'll be able to see it, the unpack, the build definition. So over here, just I am passing the command file and the initial directory. And basically what this command file will do is like using the solution in the solution packager.exe, we do have a command called extract. Then for this extract, it will take the package type and the zip file and the solution folder path. If you provide this the details, it will pick this zip file and will export in this particular format. Still the export solution is going on. So in the meanwhile, I will explain you how we have configured the build and release definition. So it's a developer's responsibility to export the solution, and he need to check in only the necessary components which is associated with his user story. And once he commits the solution into the TFS, then automatically this build definition, it will run. And here you will be able to see this the build components. So this is the Visual Studio build task which I have added here. So the reason for adding this is like we are making sure that what are the custom components, what are the project files we are having, it's building properly without giving any error. And so in our process, we are using the Valhamis tools. So in the Valhamis tools, this is the mandatory step we need to add it if you are using his product. This is the PowerApps, the Power DevOps tool installer. And if you add this, for example, if you want to use the set version and the MSCRM pack solution, then it's a mandatory that we need to use the PowerApps, the Power DevOps tool installer. So as a second step, I'm adding this, and then I'm setting the version number to the source instance. I'm just passing the connection string. This connection string, I'm keeping it in the variables, and this variable we are getting it from the Azure key vaults. As I mentioned earlier, this we are getting it from the Azure key vaults, so that the people will not be able to see what is the value inside this username and password. So once the cert version is done, then we'll pick the solution from this. Here we are providing the unpacked files folder. That is nothing but this is the path we'll be providing. If you go to the Visual Studio, and this is the path we'll be providing. Under this path, what all the components are there, with that it will pack this into an CRM solution. And mainly here I didn't map any mapping.xml file, but it's mandatory. It's if you are having any the plugins and the custom code, we need to map the mapping.xml. The mapping.xml works on the three ways: the folder mapping, and file to file mapping, and file to path mapping. But in our scenario, we are using the file to file mapping. And here you can give the package type, the managed and unmanaged, or if you give both, and both the solution will be the packaged. And I'm providing the output path, the where the solution needs to be the put. And last, I'm pushing this the CRM solution into an artifacts repository. Let me go back. Still it is exporting. Okay, let it export. So in the meanwhile, I will complete the release definition. And once this, okay, on top of in this build definition, I forgot about the gated check-in. So if you go to the triggers, here we'll be able to see the gated check-in process. But for the demo purpose, I haven't enabled. And if you enable this, and if you add the necessary steps in the build automation, and it will perform all the necessary code analysis. For example, you can use the check marks. This is for the C#, the code. You can use the check marks, and we do have the Sonar Cube, or else even we can use the one which comes automatically with the Microsoft Visual Studio, the Microsoft recommended tools. Using this, you will be able to do the static code analysis for the C# codes. And we do have the JS hint and the JS lin. There are a lot more, but the one is this, the famous one, like JS hint, the static code analysis for the JavaScripts, for the HTMLs and the JS files, what you are returning in your projects. So once if you enable this, and it will do all the code, the code metrics analysis, the code check, and if it is not meeting the coding standards, what it will do is like it will simply fail this build, and it will send out the notification to the developers saying that this particular code is what are the check-in you are doing is not meeting the coding standards. Kindly fix this code and recommit the code into the VSTS. So yeah, for our demo purpose, I haven't enabled it, but you guys can enable the option from here. And if you go to options here, I'm giving the build number format. This whatever the format you are having it, you whatever the format you want, you can have it, give it over here. Why I'm giving this format is like in the solution, in the CRM solution, we do have a version. I'm setting the version based on this build number format. Whatever the build number format we are getting it right. So based on that, I'm setting the CRM solution version. So this is the thing about. So now the solution got exported into this particular the folder. Now I will go to the Visual Studio and I will run this unpack build automation, and here you will be able to see it is extracting all the components. Here you can see I have added the new JS file called APAC event demo.js. You will be able to see it over here. So as a developer, it's my responsibility to check in only my necessary components. So what I will do is like, so I will go to the web resource. So here I will include this in project, and I will do this check-in, and I have modified the form. So I need to check in my form, the approval form, and I have added one new field. So if you are adding any new field, then you need to add the entity.xml. If the new field is of type lookup, then you need to add the relationship.xml and the related entity.xml file. Then finally, we need to add the solution.xml. In the solution.xml, you will be able to see all your new components. For example, if you go here, this is the new file you will be adding. For example, if the developer 1 and developer 2 is working on, for example, I am working on the APAC event demo, and there is one more developer, he has worked on the user story, and he has added one more JS file. Then we'll be able to see the other JS file over here, but we should not include his changes. We need to make sure the developer need to make sure like he's including only his changes associated with this user story. That is the thumb rule in this process. So once this is done, so I will just do the check-in. And even here, we do have the permission to add the user story number, and we can associate that user story with the change set details. But I missed it to do it. But in the project, you can do that. So now I have done my commit. Now, if I go to the build definition, see the my build definition triggered automatically. See here, we'll be able to see the APAC event demo, whatever the comments I have mentioned there. So based on that, it started triggering. So let it trigger. In the meanwhile, I will explain you the release process. As part of the release process, what we are doing it. In the release process, so as I mentioned in the build definition, if you are using the Valheim tools, it's the mandatory that we need to use this Power DevOps tool installer as a first step. Once this is done, then the second component, I'm adding the import solution. In the import solution, I'm just passing the connection string, but typically this should comes from the variables. Since it is a demo purpose, I just had given it there. And here you need to, here if you go here, here it will show you the linked artifacts related to this release definition. Here you will be able to see the release, the solution file. As a first step, you need to select this one. Once you select, it is a one-time process. Once you select and configure this release definition, every time it will pick this the solution file and it will deploy it into the target instance. Like similarly, like the normal manual process, here we do have the publish workflows and override unmanaged customization, override solution, all those things. And even if your solution is bigger, then you can increase your timeout over here. And if you are missed to uncheck this publish workflows, then if your solution is having the plugin steps and workflows, automatically it will get into draft state. So it's mandatory that we need to make sure that we are checking this publish workflows option. Okay, so this is about the VSTS release definition. Now we'll go and see whether the build got succeeded or not. Yeah, now we can see the build got succeeded. So if you go to those artifacts, here we'll be able to see the file. This is the solution file. Okay. So once the build definition get triggered or the succeeded, my release definition will trigger automatically. And over here you can see the approval. I have configured the approver for this. So I have configured for the demo purpose. I have just given myself as a approver, so I can approve it from here. Or else, if you are configuring the test manager or the UAT manager, for them they will receive an email in the inbox with the URL. They can click on that URL and it will navigate to this page. Then over here they will be able to approve this. So as soon as it gets approved, the release definition will trigger automatically. And here is the step. So if I go to let it run, in the meanwhile, I will explain you some of the things in the VSTS release definition. Yeah. So if you see here, this is the build automation associated with this release pipeline. And here we do have the option provision to schedule it. But as of now, I'm not scheduling it. But if you enable this, then you will be add multiple schedules. Based on the schedules, your release definition will trigger automatically with the last build definition, which is succeeded in your system. Okay. And here we do have an option to the pre-deployment approvers, and here we do have a triggers and the pre-deployment approvers. I have enabled the pre-deployment approvers. Here I have given my name, and even you can set a timeout to here like 30 days, and however you want based on your requirement, you will be able to set the timeout over here. So now if you see here, the build definition got triggered and it downloaded the drop folder, the solution which we have created in the build definition. It downloaded it from there, and as a next step, it downloaded the secrets. There's the dev CRM username, password, all those things. It has interacted with the Azure and it has received all things. And as I mentioned, then it has executed the Power DevOps tool. Now the import is going on. So here you can able to see the version here. So I'm just taking the build version and I'm setting it to the CRM version. So once the deployment is done, then over there we'll be able to see the version. So here, this is the environment which I'm using it. So here you will be able to see the version called 2. Once the deployment is completed, it will update here automatically with the latest version number. So let this run. And this is the Valhemis tool. So since it's already associated with my Azure DevOps, here it is not giving the provision to install. But if you click on this, get it free, then it will take you to the page, the marketplace.visualstudio.com in the Azure DevOps. So over there, you will be able to install it. Here you need to select your Azure DevOps instance and you need to click on download and it will ask you to install it. And one more provision we do have, once the build and release definition gets succeeded, we can automatically send out a notification in the Teams channel. For example, in a project, typically, for example, if you are working on any project for that particular team, the particular team's channel will be created. But once the release definition gets triggered, automatically with the change set, what all the user stories got completed, all those details will be able to send out the notification. Automatically, it will send out a notification to the Microsoft Teams. So now the release definition got succeeded. Now if I go to the test environment and if I refresh this, so here you will be able to see the latest version which got flown from the DevOps process. If I open this, I will be able to see the latest JavaScript file which I have created newly, and also the form changes. So if you see here there is the new JS file which got created in our dev environment. This is the file which I have created, and if I go to the approval entity, so here you can see the field which I have created. So yeah, that's it with the system demo. So similarly, this is for the SIT environment. But what we do is for the UAT and the production environment, we export the managed solution directly from the SIT, and will, based on the test the product owner's approval, will deploy that solution into the UAT and the production environment. So let's get back to the presentation. So this is the build and release definition which we have seen in the system demo. So, and there are 10 common myths we are having to follow the CI/CD process. The everyone is aware of the CI/CD process, but no one is not doing it, because the people are feeling like it's not required for the CRM projects, and they are feeling like it does not add value to the project. And they do have a thinking process like it's applies only for the larger enterprise. It won't work for the smaller projects. And the people think like it requires lots of new skills, but nothing. If you know the PowerShell basic skills, and if you know how to use the Valhamis components and the Azure DevOps, easily we can configure this. And also it's not a time consuming process, and the cost is also not much involved here. And people also have a thought process like the CI/CD does not work with the CRM, the implementation project. It's not like that. Literally, we have seen the demo here. It works well for the CRM implementation projects. And next is the summary of this session. So through this session, we got the awareness of how we can use the DevOps process for our CRM projects, and it's much easier to implement, and it's nothing general availability of tools and the frameworks. With that, we are building this process, and it does not take much time, and only the one manual the process is here. That is the main process involved here. That we will not be able to skip it. That is mandatory actually. If you are following that process, then only our process will be smooth, and we won't encounter any issues in the deployments. And the cost and the benefit, the cost is also very less over here, and there is a reduction in the risk, and it increases the proficiency and the quality and the consistency, and it reducing the time to market. And initially it will be a pain for developers, I understand, but once they got used to it, and it will be the developers and the customers will be happy to adopt this process. And if you have any questions, then please let me know. Also, here is the contact details, blog link. I have posted the Twitter handle, email, and LinkedIn. So if while implementing this process, if you are stuck somewhere and if you have any doubts, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be very glad to assist you on this. And this is the KL, the business applications and Power Platform user community, and I have posted the meetup.com URL here. So if any guys are joining from the KL, so you can feel free to join this meetup.com. So every month we'll be having the user community, the meetup in the Microsoft Office. So over there we'll be presenting the recent technology changes and what all the new things the Microsoft is bringing in. All those updates will be giving it in the user community. And myself and Temmy, along with me, the Temmy and PK Hong is there. They both are the community leads, the KL community. They both are also the KL community leads. They are supporting me driving all these events. And last is here's the feedback. Your feedback really important to us. So please feel free to provide the feedback to us. So your feedbacks are most important to groom ourselves in the upcoming events. So I will request you to scan the QR code and provide the valuable feedbacks.
Dharani, just Jiva here. Sorry.
Yeah.
So for the Malaysia user group,
yeah,
because of the COVID situation, I think I believe you are not doing any physical event, right? You are going to do
no. As of now, we are not doing the physical events. We are joining with the APAC. We are doing together. We are doing the APAC business applications and Power Platform virtual events. But this one I have posted it once the COVID situation gets over. We'll be doing the normal events. So for that, I have posted the meetup.com.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Thank you. There are a few questions. Manish, would like to, or we can keep it simple and faster as we are running out of time. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, Jiva. First of all, thanks, Rani. I think we have a few quick questions. So first of all, people wants to know, like, you have shared some PowerShell scripts, right? So they are wondering that, can you share some link from where they can download those scripts or they can go through the scripts?
Sure. I will update those scripts in my blog, and I will post my blog the details in the chat window. The people can go and get the PowerShell scripts from there.
Great. Another question they have asked is that, although you have explained every CI/CD with respect to the Dynamics 365 CE, but they are also asking that in some scenario we also use Azure Functions and Azure's job while implementing the holistic solution. Yes. So how they can use CI/CD in that scenario?
The similar way, like what all the components they are the checking in, right? We need to create a separate pipeline for the Azure components, like the Azure Web API and for the Azure Web Jobs. In the VSTS, they do have a lot of Azure related tasks. Using the task, they will be able to do the deployments for the Azure related components.
So it's just a separate pipeline for Azure related tasks.
Separate pipeline, they need to create it for the Azure related components.
Sure. I think that that are the basic questions which everyone is wondering about. I think, Jiva, you have few questions as well. Would you like to ask?
Yeah, I just asked a couple of questions, and then we can take the rest of the questions offline because we are running out of time. So the reason I want to ask this question right here is a kind of a common question that others might have. So how can I use this CI/CD for PowerApps, mainly Canvas apps? I know we can do it for model-driven app in this way, for the Canvas app and Power Automate.
For the Power Automate, we can do it in the normal process which I have explained. So in the Power Automate, if you open the CRM solution, you can add your flow over there. Okay, then the similar way you can export the solution, you can extract the component, and using the VSTS build and release definition, you will be able to deploy it. This process will automatically take care of it. But we need to make sure. We have recently encountered a problem, like our flow was not working with the solution packager.exe file. Then we found that it's because of the DLL issue. The solution packager and all the necessary the DLL should be the latest ones. If you are having that, then this, as part of this process, the flow can be handled. But I haven't tried for the Canvas apps, but I will check and get back to you on this, Jiva, regarding the Canvas apps. Or else I will check and post it in my blog. That will be useful for all the other folks.
Thank you. And the last question would be, this DevOps CI/CD pipeline, can it get connected to the DevOps the work items board, so that once the build or certain task is done, can it go and update the task items as completed or not ready for review, something like that?
Exactly. As I mentioned while doing the check-in, so if you see here, the change set is there, right? You need to associate the item here. If you associate the item, and if the build and release gets succeeded, automatically it will go and update that user story, saying that this build is associated with this user story. And over there, you can see your change sets also, what all the components are associated with that particular user story.
Okay, perfect. I think I'll get the things from your blog or from you offline, since we are running out of time.
Yeah, so I have just I'm just showing the screen here. In the related work items, you just need to mention the user story number here.
Okay.
You need to mention, For example, if you're committing the 2 user story, then you need to mention 2 user story number here. And here we'll get an option to associate and resolve. And if you resolve it, automatically the user story will move to resolved state. Or if you associate, then this particular change set will go and associate with that particular user story.
Perfect. I think, so we have another 2 or 3 questions. I think, Manish, please note these questions. Probably we can take it offline.
Sure, Jiva.
Yeah. Or if you have time after PK Hong's session, we can address this. We can come back to this.
Sure, Jiva.
Thank you, Dharani. Thank you for your wonderful demo, and it was such a hands-on demo. I know it is not easy to configure the whole CI/CD pipeline with all the cases and gating. It's good that you are able to do that given 45 minutes of time.
Yeah.
And thanks for that again, guys. So the next session is going to be from Mr. PK Hong from Malaysia on efficient PowerApps formula in expediting apps performance for data entry. So about PK Hong, he is one of our senior community lead with vast experience in PowerApps. As far as I am aware of, Mr. PK Hong has been developing PowerApps for more than 3 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, PK Hong. And he is very well known for this PowerApps in the PowerApps community, the apps that he has built. Welcome, PK Hong. The stage is yours.
Yes, this is Hong here. Thank you very much for inviting Hong here to join on this APAC. Okay, so I'm supporting Dharani on the Kuala Lumpur community. Okay, so I think my topic will be slightly different from what you have been sharing, and I'm mostly on PowerApps. Okay, I'll try to share my screen first. Can you see my screen? Is my screen global?
Yeah, we can see you.
All right, okay. Just a very brief introduction of myself. In fact, I'm a consultant for quality for about 20 over years. Okay, so I know system very well. Then after I know PowerApps 3 years ago, so I have started to integrate for my existing customer for their management system, for the whole ERP system. All right, so from there, I find there are many ways they can expedite most of their works. Yeah, definitely apart from being a consultant, and also I'm also a founder for the company for the shopping apps. Okay, all right. So instead of talking too much, I'll just go straight to my topic because it's a bit too late, right? Already 5:38. Okay, all right. What I'm going to talk about is actually there are 2 functions. I'm not sure if people are knowing very well about these few functions, which is quite new. One is called set focus, and one is called select function. So I think I have overheard sometime in the community or in the forum, people asking about how to automate some functions in the apps. But in fact, I think there are many functions you do have to be built in, but they do have a lot of built-in formula for you to automate your actions in the apps, so that you can make your works much more efficient, especially in factory. And you are very busy in collecting data, and you may not want to do manual entry. So set focus and select will be one of the very important function. All right, I will show you a very quick example before I use, the first one I'll use manual, and another one I'll be using the equipment, which I borrow from my customer to show how can you use the measuring equipment in factory, and you can make the measurement become automatic. Although it may not be like what people say, Industrial 4.0, you will connect to the machine, but that is part of it can make your job faster. All right, this is one of the apps which I make for my customer. I have removed most of the data. I only leave one for demo, okay? All right, this is one of the apps whereby my customer will be creating a simple database. In fact, we do link to a database. For example, one of the customer called Leica, I know they are making lens, okay? So they have to build a basic data to know that what are the product they want to measure for, the customer, the part name, part number, and what is the measurement, and what is the upper and lower tolerance. And those things are going to be used for them to use as the data input sources. Okay, this is, I created 2 because I'm not sure about today, might be poor internet or good internet. So here you can just select from the database what do you have. So a very quick way to list out all your data. For example, like I have shown you just now. The key measurement is 361 in the Leica Horizon Laser Hub folder. And this is the part name, part number, and their relevant measure value, measurement, and their tolerance. Okay. This is a bit weird, right? You can see minus, minus. So certain products are quite typical. Okay. And this is empty because they are yet to enter. Okay. In most of the case, my customer use data entry for their statistical process control. Where some of you might not be familiar what is statistical process control. This is where we use statistics to calculate data to know if our process is out of control or out of limit, to make sure that they produce something which is accurate enough so that you can use good lens with good dimension. Okay, in this case, they will just take 2 samples each time. And here you can just enter. Okay, I'm using enter in keyboard. Okay, in fact, okay, let me come back again here. So in fact, when I select this one, it will just go to another field here. Okay, right? And then you can just enter 2, and then this is so-called set focus, right? And then you can measure the value. So I think this is quite easy. So when you type as 3, you'll be out of control or out of spec. If it's 265 is okay, and then you can just enter. So I don't touch on the keyboard. It's a 9.245. Okay, it's out, right? 2560. Okay, I just enter. So that means when I enter the data, when I press enter, when I get the data change, it will set focus to this button. So once these are done, you will just set focus to go to collect, and they will collect data into this. Okay, so this is the raw data, and this is the average and the range of these 2 data. Okay, let me demo another one. 9.356. Okay, then this is out. 359. Will be 264. Okay, just enter, and then 9.265. So when I enter, it will collect into the graph. Okay, then I can save. Okay, because in many factory they might not have a good internet. Reason because inside, especially electronic factory, most of the signal are being interrupted. Even though you're using Wi-Fi, it may not be so good. So from there, you have all the data in. And then when I come back here again, you can see there's already from 201 to 361 data. There is a data being embedded, and this is in April. I can make graph based on the coefficient here, and you can know how capable is a process to know whether they are capable or whether they are fulfilling Six Sigma, Motorola Six Sigma. So this is the graph whereby we can do a lot of calculation to detect are they out of control and out of spec. Okay, if anybody you are from manufacturing or you know well about statistical control or design experiment, we need a lot of graph. But the way where I collect data, it can be not so far because you need to enter. So what you need to do is you need to use an equipment. Okay, and let me show you the equipment. Okay, right. I think I got to turn on my video. Can you see myself?
Yes, Hong, we can see your video.
Okay, see me. Okay, I want to show you one equipment here. Can you see this equipment? So at least someone tell me, is it clear?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, this is a micrometer, and this is used to measure the inner diameter. Okay, this is a very special feature. Normally, micrometer can measure up to 1 micron. Okay, all right, I just I turn here, you can see the value is moving. This is by 1 micron. So it's the thickness of your head. And you can measure the inner diameter. Okay, all right, so what you do is there's a USB here. Okay, just connect to our computer or even your handphone. Okay, you can see it is connected. Okay, let me change to. Okay, so this is, you can see my screen. Okay, so this is the value, and there's a button here. So when you press the button input, you'll be shown here. Okay, when it is out of control, definitely it is highlighted. You cannot do anything. Let me change a little bit smaller. Okay, all right. There's a button here. You click. Okay, once you click, you will enter by itself automatically without having to do anything on the keyboard or even on the app itself. So, and then again, because I'm using set focus, you will come back to the same input again. So I may measure a change a little bit, and I enter the coming here. So that means I'm adding the data, and also I'm collecting the data at the same time. So means once I press the button, you will just add to here. And then again, when I add here, because most of the time your measure is within the control, so they only they press. If it's out, definitely when it's out, you can go in. So definitely you're not going to have a problem. So you can just go inside and save here. All right. So if you are very confident, you can just don't collect. You can just directly go to the data here and save immediately. Okay. Right. There is the data here. There is the two data. So our control is two data. You can just save. But because it is saving, so normally I would not want them to automate. So we have to do it a little bit manual. Okay. This is the way that we make the job faster by using caliper, or we call it micrometer. I think a lot of equipment you do have USB. So that USB has built-in API, and you can connect directly to the computer, and you can get your data immediately. So this is so-called how do you make your PowerApps with data input for data analysis, and you can make the apps faster by reducing the data input. And what I want to share with you is, I think maybe there are some functions some people might be just miss out. So I mentioned is one set focus. Set focus. So that means whatever action you've done here, by using on change, you set focus to another field here. Okay, so in this case, if I select, you set focus here, or maybe I make a change, right? So this is then simple set. Right? Let me make a change first. Okay, this is on change. On change. This is simple size. I think size 1. Okay. All right. So when you make a change here, oh, start coming here. It should be 10, but it is simple size here. Okay, it should have come here. Okay. Right. Let's look at another one here. Okay. So when I'm here, I make changes. You will set to measure value here. Okay. So I enter the data here. When I enter, it'll be here. So this is set focus. After set focus, after I added the value here, okay, when I enter, they will just get the data. So you don't have to even click on the button here. And actually, I'm not using set focus, and now I change to if there's no warning message, then they will just select the button. So that means I'm combining both set focus, select function here. Okay, right? Select function is for you to make repetition, just as someone asked in the PowerApp forum about QR code. Can you scan the QR code without have to click any button? Yes, you keep triggering the same function in select after you have done certain function. So it is the same you can apply here. But here I combine select, set focus, and select, and at the end is I combine with this equipment so that I can make the whole process faster. And in fact, I'm using in the factory for a whole year. And then we have changed the way from buying and software for like SPSS or SaaS, or even some special for about maybe $50,000 US, $50,000 US. I just make one app, it's only a few thousand, and they can get the things done using any equipment with USB input. As long as you are getting equipment with USB input, you will get the thing done. And sometimes you can even use Bluetooth. So Bluetooth is one of the way that you can link to it, and then you can put in the data. So that is so-called how to expedite the whole process of data input into PowerApps using USB or even using Bluetooth. And I've been doing this one for more than years, and more things are coming in. So my customer had changed all their equipment into typical USB input. Some can be like few thousand, or some can be like $100,000 US, okay, to get an input done. So some can be like image sensing. They do have their own software, but this is not what we want, because we need to have data processing. We need to have graph to show the result. This is one of the main reasons. We need all these things to show the result here, because not all the software are able to show result. Hold on, I think I should use this one. Okay, so not all software are able to show result and link to what we want, because we need to modify the data to suit the market requirement. Okay, and we need to follow to those formula as provided by statistical process control, and to do the graph to detect all the variable, to make sure that we fulfill certain normal distribution, to make sure that we will produce something which is, if possible, to be about 99.73% acceptable, and hopefully to be 99.99%. So this is something that we can use the data to get it faster, to enter faster, and to analyze real time. So this is something we have been doing in factory. I have also a guy in another factory who is making Dyson product in Johor. That is for vacuum cleaner. The same thing, we apply the same graph. Okay, they are using auto input into apps. All right, so I think that's all from me to share about how to expedite the whole process of data entry together with one of the equipment which I have borrowed from my customer. Okay, all right, that's all from me to share about PowerApps and expediting the data input. Okay, any question for me?
So far, no questions, Mr. Hong.
Yes.
Guys, anyone you would like to ask any question in person, you can unmute and ask Mr. Hong. He is the PowerApps guy.
Yeah, Jiba, I do. This is fantastic, Mr. Hong. Actually, could you bring up your control charts for a second? You were showing the control charts, you know.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So basically, you're actually using the chart function and populating the the data points here. Is it directly? Is the chart actually from?
It's from data. It's from data. Yeah. It's a real life data. Yeah.
Live data. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, it will plot the graph automatically. Here, because I'm using the Flash, because it's already too much data. So actually, they are collecting monthly and submit to customer.
Let me ask you this: what is so monthly? So basically, you collect all the, how do you say, the data points, and then the gosh, it's been a few years for me, you know, since I was actually in on the plant floor. So basically, the XR charts, you are calculating it here, or you actually calculate it in CDS and bring it here. What do you do?
I'm calculating in the my database system. So I'm not using CDS because CDS has a lot of limitation. So I think I've shared in previous session, I'm using my own custom connector, which is built by Taufik, my Indonesian partner. Yeah. So this is much faster. In CDS, there's a lot of limitation whereby you have to do a lot of special formula to overcome the delegation. But because I'm using NowDB, I do not have issue of delegation. So we may coordinate there for maybe 1 year, ongoing. Yeah,
so,
ongoing.
So when you say ongoing, is the feed actually coming in real time from the?
Yes, real time. Correct, real time.
So from the assembly line, you're actually collecting the data real time.
Yes, from CS machine.
And then in the DB, you're actually like having for the control charts, right? You're doing the normal distribution thing in the DB, and then the mean plus, mean minus, you're plotting it real time over here.
Yes, all real time. Yeah. So I don't cache the data. All will be cached inside the computer and doing real time. Yeah. Because they need to do corrective action on the spot to the machine. They are making CNC.
No. Hang on a second. Whoa, like that's crazy. So basically, this is going to be on your assembly line, and it's like a real-time dashboard where you're actually streaming, the data from the sensors, calculating it, plotting it. So it's like a real-time dashboard on the assembly line.
It's a real-time data. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
They need to take corrective action. Actually, not only me. I've got another company in Johor. They're making for Dyson product. It's also real-time feedback to UK. We need to be real-time. This is not calculated data. It's a real-time data to be acted immediately. Yes, it is not like collecting data into Excel and plot graph. No, this is already outdated.
Gotcha. So all your UCL, LCL, control limits basically are all like, on the fly. Wow. This is very nice.
Yeah, there is no choice because, like customer like Deka, they want things to be very accurate, no reject. Okay, you can see things are, although it may be skilled, it can be somehow controlled, but it's still capable. It's still very capable. You can see. Okay, you can see highly capable. Yeah.
Super. Sorry to hog the questions over here, but what is the sampling frequency? I mean, how fast are you sampling this?
It depends. Some maybe every 30 minutes because one part
every
for
30
CNC,
minutes.
it may take about maybe 200 over second to make one part.
No, sorry. It's like every 30 seconds you're refreshing the data, is it?
Whenever they have input the data it can be refreshed automatically. Yeah.
So sorry, this is really interesting stuff because I mean,
Okay. The frequency can be set by the user.
Frequency can be set by the user, but the thing is, in terms of baud rate, what is the baud rate?
Oh, I don't really know. Okay, I don't really know.
Okay.
Right. Sorry, I can't answer that. Yeah. Okay, it may be a bit too technical for me.
Gotcha. Understand, sir. Understand. Okay.
But anyway, this is real life data.
Yeah.
And in fact, certain machine, they can capture data immediately into this program, but because it's too costly to connect to internet, so they will just let go, but instead they will do another way around. Yeah, that is too expensive to install another internet-enabled connector. Yeah.
Gotcha. Great stuff, sir. Thank you very much. Back to you, Jeevan.
All right, welcome. Yeah. Any other questions?
Anyone would like to ask Mr. Hong? This is the right time. He is the Mr. PowerApps guy. Make utilize of him. Apart from this, you can ask any other common question also in PowerApps. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Guys, if you have any other questions in PowerApps, you can just shoot it.
Yeah, I would be interested in the chart you are using in the app. It's not a Databricks element, isn't it? It's kind of custom chart inside of your app.
Yeah, customized chart. Yes, I need to write a lot of formulas to detect all those things. That example, you have to detect those point out of control. So I have not finished all because it is quite tedious. But basically, we will follow to the requirement from the automotive industry to make sure that we fulfill 2 points here. Okay, these are the 2 points. Okay, 1 point is it must be within 1 sigma. 68% must be fulfilled. Another one is not our control. But yet you need to calculate the capability because this is a real thing that the customer want to see. Are you within spec? If it's more than 2, we call it Motorola 6 sigma is already very excellent. The only thing is because just like you are driving a car on the road. Okay, you may be not riding very well, just a drunken driver. But because of the road is too wide, so you don't feel that you are a bad driver. But actually you are a bad driver. But because the road is too wide, you are okay. All right, so that is the meaning of control chart. Yeah.
I'm sorry, who's the gentleman who asked the question? Sorry.
Yeah, it was me, Carol, from Europe.
This is exactly what I was actually thinking about as well. Because I mean, doing these control charts isn't exactly fun. Getting the you have your control limits, and then you have data points actually going outside your limits, and then you need to pick those up like real time. And then understand if those actually are real outliers or they're, how do you say, false positives, or like you actually act on them. This is fantastic stuff, Mr. Hong. So you've actually customized this chart.
Yep.
To the gentleman's. Okay. Wow.
Because in the PowerApps, although the graph may not be so good, but they still allow about 9 lines. So at least I only use about 7 lines. So 7 series. Okay, they can go up to 10 series if I'm not mistaken. So it's good enough, and you can change the color. Yeah.
Gotcha. On this, sorry to again ask a follow up on what, sir. Do you have any more questions on this?
No, it's awesome.
Fantastic. So for the, Mr. Hong, the data points that actually go outside the control limit, do you do anything with it? I mean, is there an alert real time that's actually sent out?
Yeah, I know certain software they may asking to pop up. Example, like I have data here to show that it's in red color. So actually, in fact, I can just pop up something. They need to write something, correct action, and then fill it in. But at the moment, we don't do that because customer is not interested. They are interested on this part and they want to know what have we done. So they are not asking for the full automation, but we still can manage to convince them based on what we have done. They are looking for this one. So in fact, when it is red color here, it can pop up for you to fill in your corrected action. You can save it. Yeah, that is an option.
I see.
You can see all the color highlighted. Yeah, there are certain point which is out of control. Not out of control doesn't mean out of limit. It's not out of spec. Yeah, so it's still good. Yeah. So all the raw data are here. Yeah, this is all the raw data. Yeah. Okay. So some are already in graph. So you can always come in here to check your raw data. Yes. Right.
Gotcha.
I hope it will help someone to think of a better way. Yeah, in fact, for me, what I want to show is using the equipment so that you don't have to enter data manually. This is the most tedious work in Tech 3.
Gotcha. Fantastic stuff, sir. Back to you, Jiba.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Guys, I really appreciate Hong's response on that. And I'm glad that there are lots of audiences from other parts of the world. Thank you, Carol, for joining today from Europe, right? That's nice.
Yeah, thank you for this. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Okay.
If you guys don't have any questions, I think we can let go Mr. Hong, and we can end up today's session. And I'd like to thank all the speakers, Hong and our guest Tom, for the wonderful session today. And thank you for the all attendees to make the day special. And the event, we will be having monthly events with respect to the countries. But anyways, it's virtual, so anybody can join from any country. And also once in a quarter, we're going to have a full day event like this. The monthly event is going to have 2 or 3 sessions of 2 hours once in a month, and once in a quarter we're going to have a full-blown session like this. And Sanjeev, would like to share anything?
No, Jiba, again, once again,